open that, that will also bring it to the world origin as well. So I'm going to drag it down. I'm going to drag it onto the midpoint here, just like this. Go into 900. Now we have a copy of this in the file, so we don't have to import again. Now we have this selected, and we will isolate it. I'm going to show you the secondary purpose of these notch tags, other than relaying that this point is matching to that point, is for the macro that you will now use on this object. So what this has done is it's exported it all as a group, and it has all these other lines that we don't need. So this macro will explode it for you and get rid of all the unnecessary stuff. So you'll see here in your toolbar that you should have set up. The very first one on the top is titled Import Exact Flat with Match Marks. So we have match marks on here, so we're going to select that option, which is a left click. So we'll select and drag over everything and hit enter. When you do this, you want to make sure that you have isolated the import, otherwise it will mess up some other work that you have in the file, because it doesn't differentiate between layer names. So we'll hit enter. It'll run through. You'll see it keeps everything selected when done. The one downside of this macro is that you're unable to change the display color through the command line, which is how the macros work. Whatever you can do in the command line, you can do through a macro, but you cannot change display color through the command line that I have found. So the only thing you have to do after the macro is run is come down to display color and change it to by layer. We want it to display in the correct layer anyways, but okay. So you see it's changed all of these to the pen layer. Now with that, we can unisolate it, or keep it isolated actually. I'm going to create a copy of this. I'm going to drag it down. The number you drag it down is completely up to you, but you'd want it at least a good distance away from what you have done previously. So I'm going to actually copy it down 125 inches. And you'll want to remember that value for when you're working down, because you'll actually copy everything down at that same interval. So that if you have to bring, say you need to reference something else here, you actually can bring that back down at 125 and you know it's exactly there. So I know that this matches that, that matches that, this matches that. So I no longer need all of these match marks or notch tags. So I'm going to delete them. I'm going to delete them all at once by coming into your layers, selecting notch, select sub-object layers, and hit delete. What that does is actually deletes the line that's made there. We also want to delete the number, so the numbers are on the notch tag layer. And that's all set by exact flat, and we'll delete those. Now we've gotten rid of those. Now we want to select every panel and drag it over to the next panel and actually combine them into one, because right now they're separated. So what I'm going to do is I like to use this lasso selection, and you can use it by, you can either click to make selections, or you can hold down the mouse button and drag. So I'm going to drag select. I'm going to maneuver my mouse into the corner here, right on that corner, and hold down the left button. You'll see it says end here, so it's selecting the very end of that line. You could also use the move command and select that endpoint. And now you're going to bring it over, and it's moving. You're going to see in your little tooltip box that I'm moving it to the other endpoint of that line. You should see this if you look closely. The blue line I'm moving it to actually highlights slightly, and you see end come up there. We'll actually click on there. While this is still selected, I'm going to type in rotate. I'm going to select this endpoint. I'm going to zoom in here to the other endpoint of this. And I'm going to maneuver my cursor directly over the this other endpoint that it corresponds to. You see they don't exactly match here. So what we actually do is manually match them up to the same point. So I'll take this curve, select the curve edit points, select and drag that one down. Right now we have two curves here. We don't need two. I'll actually delete both of them and create a new curve at the end points. So now we have a new curve. And I will do the same for the rest of the panels. Selecting the end of that line, moving it to the end of the other, rotate this to that end. Now I always move in the direction of, I'm bringing this panel over to that panel. So since I did that, I'm actually going to adjust this this point instead of this point. Delete that. Make my new split line. Lasso. End. Selecting the bottom curve of the panel I just moved and bringing it in line. So now we have that. Now I'll delete that again and drag this up to the line to end. You actually tell which line is which, because it'll, if you hover over a line, it will actually highlight it slightly thicker. So we're going to select the endpoint there. So this side is done. So likewise, you just have to do the same with the other. Now we've combined it all into one object. So now we've joined it all up together. So we'll actually select all of the curves here and I will join up all the bottom curves. This will make the next step easier for us, which is to create the view lines. What I'll actually do is take this, let's remove it onto a new step, and we'll create a copy using that same interval I did earlier, which was 125 in this case. I select this. I want to create the top and bottom view lines. And that is dictated by the type of track here. So before you start a job, you'll actually go over the job with your project manager, and they will tell you what everything is. So in this case, the top track is actually welt, and the bottom track is getting welt zip. So each of those has a different value to offset for the view line, and that will be found in Trainual. So I'll pull that up here to show you. In Trainual, in the design department, you'll come down here to Enclosures. We're working on a traditional style enclosure, so click on that. Now you're looking at, we're going to do the top track here first. So we're looking here at top. We know that the top, we've been told it is welt, so the value that we want to offset for is 1 1/4. So we'll select the top line that we've joined together, type in offset, and then type in that value of 1 1/4. Right. Now we'll go back. We're going to do the bottom now, which is welt zip. So we're going to come here in this table, working on the bottom, weld zip. The value to offset is 2.5. And these values are standard values that are most commonly used, but sometimes you'll have something that deviates. Sometimes they may give you actual reference line to make your view line on, or give you a plane that you will make to create your view line. It's all based on the boat, and if something's blocking the view or we're limited by the view. But these are the standard, but during your review process on the job, they will let you know whether you're going with standard offsets or if you need to do a custom number, or if you're referencing something that they marked out on the boat for your view line. But we have here at the bottom 2.5. So in this case, it's a standard offset, so we're going to do 2.5. We can see here in these corners from the offset, this isn't exactly lining up with the split, which is actually what we want this point to move over here. So in order to do that, I'm going to actually split this line using this split and this split. Right? With that selected, I'm going to split it one more time in the middle. I'll leave that there, and then I will blend curve, blending this curve to that curve. And I want to select position and tangency for number 1. I'm going to drag that just a tiny bit. Okay, now we can delete that. That looks a lot better. So do the same on this side, split, split, just like that. Split it at the middle. Blend curve. reverse this selection. Okay. Now we can join these back up. We're going to do the same here and actually split. And then I'm going to split these middle points. And I'm going to blend curve this side with that side. Position 2 needs to be there. I'm going to select curvature for this and drag these points to be more in line. Hit OK. I can delete that. I'll do the same here. Let's switch that. Okay. Join these corners up, back again nicely. So we can then again join those up. And now we have our top and bottom view lines set. We can copy this down again. Same value of 125. Right, and I'll select all the top and bottom lines and split them using these splits. And I'll actually, in the beginning, we had combined these all from their separate panels into one. Now what we're going to do is actually do the reverse again and split these out into their respective panels. So I'm going to select everything. That's one panel. I'm going to move it out 5 inches. While that's still selected, I'm going to hold Shift and drag to select more. I'm going to want to select that point. Move over 5. Same thing again. Shift select. Move over 5. This middle panel can stay exactly where it is. I'm going to go on the other side. Move out 5. Move out 5. Same here. Move out 5. Now we have all the panels selected, and all we have to do is copy this edge over to the other side. So selecting it on its endpoint and dragging and clicking on the other end. When you're done, hit enter, go to the next line, copy again. Now we have that, so now we have to create our vertical view line. So if we pull up Trenial again, you can see here vertical, we're doing this standard, so that is a 1-inch offset on your verticals. So selecting this vertical, doing an offset and going 1 inch inward of the panel, so 1 inch towards the inside. I'll do that for every vertical. And now we want to actually join the view lines we've created, so if we do fillet, trim yes, join set to yes, we'll select one curve, select another, and you'll see it is joined it at the intersection and also join both lines into one. And we'll go through and just repeat that for all of them. here it doesn't seem to want to fill it, so we can also try to trim. That's not working either. It's deleting the whole thing. In this case, when nothing seems to be working, I'll actually select everything I'm working on and type in set point. And what this does is, we select everything. You want to uncheck everything except the Z-axis and align to world. What that will do is, so we go to a front view, isolate it. So what that'll do, if I drag out a copy of the perspective view as well. So what set point does with only Z selected is, you can see in perspective and the front view. So I've selected some of the forward panel and I've moved it up in the Z direction, so now it is not in line with everything. So if I explode this and move that back down and extend both of those edges, going back to a top view, if I fillet these, it shouldn't let me fillet because they are not in the same plane. One is actually above the other. It will not fillet correctly. You might be able to trim them. You can trim them in that case, but they won't join up because they're on two different elevations in the Z-axis. So what set plane actually does, you see in forward view too, it's above everything else. And set plane, or set point, sorry, with Z selected, will actually bring all of them in line on the same plane on the Z-axis, in line with the whole world. When you do that, I always do it from a top view because you see if you do it from a front view, it will let you select any old plane. If you do it from the top view, it'll set it to the Z-axis of the world at 0. So I always do it from top view. Now we should be good to fillet this. Join them. Right. Continuing on. Everything's joined together, as you can see. Except for that, because we exploded it for the example. We join it back together. Now, what we want to do is select this macro here, match marks, and create a match mark on all of these points. Select the point that we want to pick, and you can see here now it will let you place this anywhere. We'll actually want first point. So now it's only going to create it where you first picked your object. So we always click on the point first. Hit enter. It's going to prompt you to go on to making the next point. Just click here, click on the point. Click here. Let's do this before we separate the panels out next time. See here, if you select the point, it wiggles any direction, which is not what we want. That's because the point isn't actually on the line. So we'll select the line first, and then click where the point is. First point. Same situation here. Select the line first in this case, and then the point. And when it comes to these back ends, if you were to make, you can set one here, but it's useless to put one here because it'll get cut off by the machine anyways, and the sewers will know, and you will indicate on the build sheet that the welt actually goes all the way to the end of the panel, so you don't actually need to put one there. Now I'll select all of this, isolate again just to be safe. I no longer need all of these points, so in order to select it all at once, I'll type in select point. Just going to select them all, and I can hit delete on my keyboard. I'm going to select all of these. I want everything, right now these are in the split layer. I want everything to be in the pen layer so that the machine will recognize it. So I'm going to set to pen layer here. Now everything is blue. Now we're going to create the cut for the glass. So right now this is the template for the actual fabric of the enclosure. But we want to also send a separate cut that they will cut the glass out of. So we will select the cut layer. We will then select our view lines that we've created, and we will type in offset. And for when you're offsetting for the glass cut, it will be 0.2. You will want to offset outward of the view line. So we'll do that for every situation here. Outward, 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 outward. So now you'll see we have a little green line everywhere, offsetted 0.2 from the view line. I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to move them off to the right hand side. Just enough off of this. I'm going to do a big 300 in this case. I want to make sure that you move them and not copy them, because if you copy them, then these cut lines will still be here, and what the machine will actually do is cut the fabric along the cut lines, and we do not want it cutting a big chunk of the fabric out here. That will be a big mistake. So instead of copying that, we will actually just move it. You'll want to double check that before you send it to cut. Make sure that those cut lines for the glass are not there. Look, right there I made the mistake of hitting copy, because that's what I do so often. Actually, just move it. Right. Now what I want to do is I'm going to select all these outer layers, these outer lines. Join those together, And now we're going to create the cuts for the enclosure panels. And this is the seam allowance. And the seam allowance offset will always be a 1/2 inch, so 0.5. So we'll do that for all the panels. And this seam these are the correct cut lines to cut out the fabric for the actual enclosure panels. These will be used to label our panels so that the cutters and the sewers know which panel they're actually working on, and when they go to install it on the boat, they put in the correct place. So we're going to come up here, show everything, and all of our labels are up here at the top, right next to that first point of the world origin. We want the enclosure labels. Just going to select them all, copy, drag them down. And we'll go more in depth